Transportation. Nice to have you here in our comfortable surroundings. I would like to call the first FN to order House Bill 1190, enabling a division of motor vehicles to create a temporary driver's license for youth operators about to turn 21. And I'd like to recognize my sponsor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee. My name is Dan Vayu. I'm state representative for Hillsborough 34, which is Amherst. HB 1190 is a repeat customer. It failed to make it through committee conference last year, so we brought it back. I think most people agree that it's a good bill and administratively prudent. It would allow young people who are about to turn 21 to apply for their license before their birthday so they can get the horizontal adult driver's license as opposed to the vertically oriented youth operator's license. Right now, if you apply for your renewal even a day before your birthday, you receive the vertical license. And we have anecdotal stories about people who, establishments that refuse to take even a vertical license for any validity of to validate age. So it's an important kind of a rite of passage, but also a necessity for people who are turning 21. And this bill would allow the DMV to issue a temporary license that would be good for up to 60 days, which is a change from the last bill. I think it's the only change. The director noted that they had a new vendor come in and they had some printing problems and that were getting licenses out a little later than expected. So he wanted some cushion to be able to navigate that kind of a problem again if it happens in the future. I'm sure he'll testify what things are like now. I think that is the gist of it. It passed the House unanimously, and I think it came out of here unanimously last year. So hopefully it will have the same result.
Thank you. Questions for Representative? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hopefully it'll be just as easy this time for you. Thank you. I'd like to bring forward John Masco, please. Marasco, I'm sorry. Director, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator, members of the committee. John Marasco, Director of the DMV. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this afternoon. I'd like to thank Representative Vayu for bringing this bill back again. It's very important to residents throughout New Hampshire. Over the last 15 years, people that are turning 21 and their birthday either falls on a weekend and the DMV is not open, or they do the right thing and they go on and they renew online prior to their 21st birthday. The way historically the DMV system has been configured is to, whenever the renewal takes place, issue the youth operator license. Thousands and thousands of people over the last 15 years have been inconvenienced with this, which has resulted in people being issued a youth operator license when they're turning 21. They did everything the DMV asked them to do. They went on and renewed early because they can do that 4 months in advance with that renewal notice that they get with their specified renewal number. And yet they get this license in the mail and say, well, what am I supposed to do with this? Now they have to come back into the DMV and they have to take another photo and get a horizontal license. This bill fixes this for thousands of people moving forward. And it's going to improve efficiency, reduce the number of people in DMV lobbies. There's a $48,000 fiscal note on it that we can absorb and make that technology change. So we fully support this bill. Secondly, the other piece of the bill that's really good is when somebody does renew their license online, right now you print out a license renewal receipt. We're looking at all of our processes over the last 4 years, and what is the value of that receipt? It's a piece of paper. It's no different than if it was on a napkin. This bill elevates that receipt, and in conjunction with the expired license that has a photo on it together can be presented to a law enforcement officer, and actually that receipt has legal value. And so that bill also does that, which we very much appreciate. And the last piece is I know that there's an amendment to this bill that deals with a different issue relating to fleet vehicles and biannual registrations. And I want to thank Tom Praisall, who's here, for working with our registration administrator, Jennifer O'Leary, also working with the city of Manchester and the town of Londonderry on the municipal agent side to make sure that everything is done properly to allow this bill to move forward in its intended form for the 2-year registration. So I do have written testimony that was generated by Administrator Jennifer O'Leary. Spoke with her this morning. It's actually reintroduces and supports the reintroduction of information that was in the original bill when it came through. So we also support this amendment as well
Thank you.
on the fleet vehicles, and I have copies.
I appreciate that. I was going to ask you those points, so we could have that.
And I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Questions for the director? We're getting you off easy. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator.
Always appreciate you being here.
You too, sir. Thank you.
Is there anyone else wishes to speak again or speak for the first time? We have no one else signed up on here. Seeing no other individuals, we will close 1190. We have plenty of time. Hold- Yeah, well, let's just, I think we're gonna be done here quickly. Do you have another meeting?
No,
shortly?
no, I thought, no, we passed it unanimously, but whatever you want to do, Mr. Chair,
I love that energy.
you know? It's a soda.
Yeah, thank you. I think we'll try and pull these together and see if Senator Ward can join us. Okay, are we okay with time here?
2 minutes.
All right. Now I'm really like, what you thought? I'm picking it up now.
Schedule, could you text me once?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm just over in finance.
Which bill is that?
It's 668.
668.
The last one.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. No, it's time being 1:10, we will open up the hearing for House Bill 1350 relative to antique motor vehicles. And recognize, do we have Representative Farrington here? Do we have someone to open the hearing? Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, members of the Senate
Welcome.
welcome.
Now go.
Oh, thank you. Oh, you're welcoming me. I'm welcoming you. Well, there we go. A little reciprocity here. Good afternoon, Chair McConkey and members of the Senate Transportation Committee. My name is Sue Prentice, State Senator from District 5, representing 15 wonderful communities, and I am stepping in only for the purposes of introduction for House Bill 1315. This would allow, it would revise the definition of an antique motor vehicle to provide that the vehicle is not maintained for primary transportation use. And with that, I will close my opening so the bill can be discussed by the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you. I recognize Kathleen from DMV. I'm sorry, how do you pronounce your last? Diamond, thank you. Welcome.
Welcome, thank you, Senator members. So the DMV, we are okay with this bill.
Would you push the microphone?
Oh, sure, I'm sorry. Wait.
It's a long ways out there.
Okay, so we do support this bill. It tightens up the definition of an antique vehicle and it helps us out a lot.
Okay. Yes, question?
Just the
Senator.
fiscal note. It looks like it's gonna cost the state a lot of money.
No, it won't cost us a lot of money.
I think you're, oh, okay, so
Yeah, we're gonna ignore the fiscal note on this one.
I don't know if we can do that.
I don't know if we can completely
I'm
ignore
gonna
it.
use
You
that
wanna-
verbiage for my next bill.
There you go.
Further questions? Yes, please, Senator.
Thank you, Chair. Kathy, thanks for taking my question and help me out with this. So antique motor vehicles, as they are registered now, are allowed to drive on our roadways in New Hampshire.
Correct.
Okay. So these antique vehicles would be still allowed to drive on our roads, but not be required to be properly maintained?
They would still have to be maintained. What it is they wouldn't use it as a everyday vehicle.
But they could still drive it on a New Hampshire roadway?
Correct. Yeah.
Are, follow up?
Yes, please.
Okay, and this is not, my area of expertise, antique motor vehicles. Others may be better, you and as well as others on the committee may be better suited. So what's the difference? Like, why is it okay for this not to be maintained for daily use, but regular motor vehicles? I mean, now we're edging towards no inspections, but these are really older vehicles. Many of which parts aren't always available. Like I'm trying to understand how this is safe to be on the New Hampshire roadways.
They would still have to meet qualifications of 266 to be
Okay.
safe for our roads.
So tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about 266.
So there's
Sorry.
still that's okay.
No,
There's
please.
still have a
Yeah.
windshield and things like that that are in our RSA for the 266 and still be safe for the road. They just wouldn't have to have the inspection because our inspection program is no longer there. And they couldn't use it as a daily drive. It wouldn't be their main vehicle to go to work, to bring the kids to school. It's just an antique vehicle that they would use. Yes.
Follow up?
Do we oversee daily drives? Like say that vehicle could be driven every day and that one can't? You're helping me out
Yes,
here,
yes.
so.
So there is no way for us to say, I wouldn't know if you took it for a daily drive or not, but that's the way our laws are written.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome.
If I could. So, and I think I've seen my own answer here. So 25 years or older vehicles considered antique.
In the 26, yeah, correct.
Okay. We had conversation last year about fire trucks and there was something about
Remember
that,
that,
and parades and so
Yeah.
forth. So are we not putting law enforcement in a position where they have to decide whether someone is, if that's their daily drive, I decide I want to drive my old Silverado to work a week or two. Have there been conversations with the state police and so forth? It doesn't seem to be an issue.
As far as I know, I'd have to refer that to Director Marasco.
Yes.
May I first?
Yes, please. I'm not opposed. I'm trying also to get an understanding of what we're doing here.
I want to thank Supervisor Kathy Diamond for coming over and testifying on the bill. We did discuss the bill briefly this morning. I just do want to go on the record on behalf of the DMV. We don't support the bill. We don't support it. We'll offer informational testimony, but in reading the bill and discussing it this morning, I mean, obviously the language is stricken here in its original condition or restored to original or better condition and not intended for daily use. So I understand the bold italicized part that talks about not maintained for primary transportation. Okay. But in just reading the language that's here, it does look like we are reducing what the expectation is as far as what the vehicle needs to be able to perform when it's on the roadway, as far as from a safety standpoint. So I'm not, I don't know if this bill is more intended for the retired fire apparatus, to your point, Senator. I know that was a big conversation last session. I don't know if it's really more focused on that. But I guess I would say from a DMV standpoint, I'm told by Administrator O'Leary, who has reviewed this bill, the original fiscal note was based off of 75,000 vehicles that may not be registered initially if the bill were to pass in the original bill form. That has since changed, and now we have this. And based on what's here, the 75,000 is not a factor. So as far as from a revenue standpoint, it doesn't sound like that's an issue anymore with this change. My only piece I would submit to the committee is, I don't know on the safety side. I don't know on the safety side, because I mean, what is crossed out here, to me, if that wasn't crossed out, I think everybody would feel comfortable to say that it's in original condition or it's been restored to be original or better, which means it's safe. To Kathy's point, she's right. It is going to be subject to RSA 266 and tires, lighting, windshield, horn, those things that are listed in the statute that every vehicle is going to be subject to. But to the senator's point, these are older vehicles, so I mean, they're still going to be subject to RSA 266, but I don't know if striking that language makes the roadways safer.
Okay. Follow-up question,
Thank you
please.
so much, Chair McConkey and Director Marasco. So I think you got to the heart of what I want to talk about, because there isn't a blanket definition of primary transportation. And so my worry is that some of the oldest vehicles in the state could be out on the road. And even though it says, well, they are out on the road for parades and such. I've seen them, love it, it's great, especially the antique fire trucks. However, who's deciding what's primary or not? Like that becomes the thing. You know, we have pupil transportation, school transportation, public transportation, highway system classification. So at the risk of splitting hairs, somebody who's going to be, say, policing, whether it's primary or not, I think that it's saying just under antique for certain purposes is fine with me, but to saying that these vehicles don't have to be maintained, but they could actually be out on the road, maybe regularly, we don't know that. I mean, I guess that could be left up to law enforcement, but that's where my comfort zone, that's where I'm out the edges of my comfort zone.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree with you, and I think as I'm listening, I'm thinking about, establishing residency in the state of New Hampshire. You have the 60 days. You've got to get the New Hampshire registration after you've been here for 60 days. You've got to declare residency. But that's always a gray area. How do we enforce that? Well, it's if a neighbor calls in and says that Massachusetts registered vehicle has been back and forth out of this driveway for 90 days now, that person lives there, then there could be a law enforcement investigation into how long have you been at the residency. Do you actually live here? If you do, you need to go and register the vehicle. It's hard to enforce it.
Yeah.
And so to your point, Senator, I agree with you. I think, I don't know. I mean, is there a log? Are we saying how many times you've taken it out? Do you have to submit something in DMV to say, I put the vehicle on the roadway 10 times a year? And is that the threshold? So to your point, I think you're right. I think there needs to be better parameters here of what that actually means and a way to measure it, as opposed to, because if you're a law enforcement officer, you stop the car. Yeah, it's not my primary vehicle. I just took it out for a drive today. Oh, and I took it out again tomorrow and the next day. And where does it end? So I'm with you.
So if I could, the only requirement would be that they obtain an antique plate is what's here. Okay. All right. Any further questions? No. And this, to the best of your knowledge, is this the first time this bill has come through in this form? Having been around a while,
I have been around a while. This is the first time I've seen it in this form.
Okay, sounds great.
Same here.
Thank you so much. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Sarah Burke Cohen. You're just opposed, not speaking. Thank you. Is there anyone here? Is the representative still here? Is there anyone wish to speak a second time on this matter? Someone new that didn't have an opportunity to sign in? Seeing none, I will pull this hearing to a close. 13:50. Thank you. Okay. Okay. We're there? Okay, let me just pull up my sheet. Time being 1:20 relative. I'd like to open up the hearing for House Bill 1485 relative to eligibility and fees for late fund requests for road tolls. I'd like to recognize is there a sponsor here? Yes, please. Representative. I had you in a second. Welcome to transportation. Welcome back to nearly your old home area instead of over at Granite Place.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Senators. Nice to see you all. I am Tom Corman. I represent Grafton 15, which is Ward 3 of the City of Lebanon. And I'm here to introduce to you HB 1485. This was a constituent request, and the constituent is sitting behind me, Robert Moses, and he will tell you in a little more detail about the circumstances of the bill, but let me lay out the situation here. RSA 260:32 says that when fuel is bought, there's an 18-cent per gallon tax on that. And that is intended for, it says road tolls, but what this really means is maintenance of roads. So this is assuming that when you buy a gallon of gas, you're going to be driving your vehicle on the roads, except not all fuel is for vehicles that are driven on the roads. Farm equipment, construction equipment, industrial equipment, off-road vehicles, they're not using the roads, yet they're paying the 18 cents. So there is a provision to get a refund on that in the RSA in 260:47. The refund request is due on April 15th. You can also make the request quarterly if you're a big user. If your refund is for $750 or more, you can request a refund quarterly. But the basic refund is due on April 15th. And if you're late on requesting the refund and you are not a state or government agency, you're out of luck. You can't get the refund. So what this bill says is that others, other than state agencies and public entities, should be able to request a refund late, but with a slight penalty, 15% of the refund or $50, whichever is greater. And this is just because things happen, right? Somebody's paperwork gets lost, which is in fact what happened with my constituent. And it just makes sense that people should be able to file late, but with a small penalty. So that's what this bill is about. We had a hearing for it in Senator McConkey's old committee, Public Works and Highways, and it got a unanimous OTP vote there and was on consent in the House. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Representative. Questions for Representative? No, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Always nice to see you. Welcome up, Robert Moses, is it? Welcome, sir. Have a seat. Make yourself comfortable. Welcome to transportation. Tell me about this.
So Robert Moses, I live in Lebanon, New Hampshire, Ward 3.
A lot of that going on today.
There's a lot of that going on. Our family owns and operates Britton Lumber Company up in Bath, New Hampshire. We employ about 30 to 40 people, depending on the given time. So we have lots of loaders, forklifts, equipment that is used off highway. Back in 2023, we also had CDL drivers, so we had diesel fuel in our tanks that was undyed, meaning that you could use it on both on the road and off the road. And so when we filed our 2023, well, we filed it late, but I signed the tax return on January 15th. And by no means am I throwing our office manager under the bus, but it just got misplaced. I mean, she'd been filing these returns for 25, 30 years. And so I appealed to the Road Toll Bureau, and they said, under the law as written, only political subdivisions can get an exception for a late filed tax return. And so in this case, it was $4,200 that, Britton Lumber was owed because, we used well over 10,000 gallons of diesel fuel. We've got 3 or 4 loaders running all day long off the highway and, a number of forklifts. And so we were denied the road toll refund. So then, but they said there had been exceptions made. And so, the Road Toll Bureau were very kind, said, well, appeal to the hearings officer. So we appealed to the hearings officer, who we had explained there had been exceptions for maternity during COVID. There had been an exception for somebody, the most recent cases were 2 COVID related, where the hearings bureau accepted, the late requests and said that was fine and granted the refunds. Our hearing officer said, well, there's no provision in the law. The other hearing officers were wrong, that there's no provision for, a refund for a late filed return. If you're late, you're late. The state gets to keep all of the money. So, we're decent sized company. So we had the resources. I'm surprised the Department of Motor Vehicles didn't stay, but Britton Lumber sued the Department of Motor Vehicles in Superior Court. And the judge said, this is crazy. And so they grant, the Superior Court granted us the refund because it was just unjust that only political subdivisions, sewer districts, water districts, highway departments got a once out of jail free card every 3 years. So the way the law is written, the political subdivisions get, once every 3 years can get their late filed return, remedied. But those of us that are not just, lose the money. And so the judge also said, well, Britton Lumber should be penalized, actually volunteered that we should be penalized. I mean, similar to the Internal Revenue Service. If you file a late tax return, you get penalized at 5% per month, up to 5 months. You get a 25% penalty, or minimum fee of $50, but you don't get to take all of the money. So this, this remedy here is to give the rest of us, other than political subdivisions, what I'm calling a get out of jail free card once every 3 years. And, I'm just sort of speaking up for, stuff happens. I mean, it was 2 or 3 cases during COVID. Our office manager of 25 years just misplaced it on her desk. The Road Toll Bureau can see that I signed it on January 15th, but they didn't receive it until May 10th because it was just late. So this is just an opportunity to, remedy so that we non-political subdivisions have the same opportunities. We have now switched, by the way, because we can't find enough CDL drivers. So we're now buying dyed fuels, and our request for refund this year is $154. So, this is very, very insignificant. But back in, 2023 and earlier, we had both, on the road and off the road. So, we had to have the diesel tank, so that we could drive off the road, on the road. So with that, I support the bill, and I hope that you will do so as well.
Before I open up, just a couple questions. So back when you were in violation of this, it was, you lost $10,000?
No,
You
we-
would have been eligible for how much of a refund?
So
from that?
we requested a refund for $4,218.
And now currently with your adjustment of your business, you're only running a couple $100 a
Yes.
year?
And that's normally what I think most people, the $50 penalty that's in here, most people, it's unusual that you would have, combination uses. You either buy dye diesel fuel, that's just for off-road use that you don't pay the tax, or you buy the undyed where you can use it both on the road and off the road. So we have switched it because we can't find CDL drivers, so that we're now buying just the off-the-road diesel. So that's why ours has gone down,
Yep.
so
Thank
significantly.
you. Yep, no, I fully understand that. Are there questions for the gentleman? Most, I might say to you, you have a bit of comfort to be sitting here and speaking with us. I suggest you speak with your federal delegation on the CDL issue. It's a different conduit, but most of the problems you're having with CDL drivers, I have in the construction trade, and so many of my other capitalists have problems with. And there isn't much we can arrange here on our level, but it's the federal side. We just need to rein them in. And my point is, you're very comfortable sitting at that end of the table. You might go to a bigger show. And we'll work on this issue for you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is a big issue too.
I don't have anyone else signed up. Is there anyone that wishes to speak, or anyone that has spoken once that would wish to speak another time? Not seeing that, we will close House Bill 1485. Thank you.
It's been a while.
It has been a while.
I'll keep you guys posted.
Good afternoon, colleagues. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I'm Senator, excuse me, Senator David Waters, District 4, here to introduce Senate Bill 668, authorizing a historic marker on a highway for the purpose of acknowledging the abuse of former residents of the Youth Development Center. You'll see what the bill does. It says pursuant to RSA 236-4042, which refers to the Department of Transportation. I'll speak in that in a moment. And also the governing legislation for Historical Resources Council, which supervises the historical marker program, and that it would, upon approval, work with opportunities for comment by former residents of the New Hampshire Youth Development Center, YDC, to determine the content for a highway historical marker for the YDC that acknowledges the abuse suffered by former residents. And the Historical Resources Council also would consider the various reports that are available, news articles concerning the hundreds of surviving victims of sexual and physical abuse suffered at the YDC, recognize the deep and lasting pain, and so forth. And we know we are planning to close that center as soon as the new one is done, sooner the better, and the property will be available for relocation. And I wouldn't be surprised if most of the existing center is torn down. So at some point it will be in history, and that's what historical markers are for. I'd like to comment a little bit on the need for this and on the process. I would start by saying that, I think it's clear that the character of a people is determined by that which it remembers, but also by that which it forgets. The process here for historical markers is for states to remember things through the generations. I mentioned the DOT mentioned here in the first, and if you haven't seen the statute, what it says for historic markers. Commissioner of Transportation may erect historic markers or signs within the right-of-way of any class 1, 2, or 3 highway. He shall put up a marker upon the petition of 20 or more state citizens and up to 10 per year. The other method for this is through the Historical Resources Council, and I served on this council for many years. It supervises the nominations for the National Registry of Historic Places, and once we created a state registry of historic places, it supervises that as well. It does some Section 106 things, and then it also does this marker program, among other things as well. This center, just to go through the technicalities of it, as a historic place, it qualifies. There are 3 qualifications that determine National Register of Historic Places and State Register. One is it's a building over 50 years. Secondly, that it's a type or use or architectural style that had historical significance, and then association with historical events. And on all 3 of these, it passes that. And then also, it is a state highway, Daniel Webster Highway there, though, so that is a state highway on which we're authorized to place these. I would say that it's not in statute, but it has always been customary to consult with the local municipality so that there is agreement not only about the sign itself, but making sure the location is one that local municipalities agree with. I have reached out to Manchester about it. Now, I know that these markers both deal with things that we want to celebrate, people and places that New Hampshire brings forward as the very best that has happened in our history. But many of these markers also refer to a very difficult history. And I know that in this case, certainly I think a lot of the survivors may feel that they just like the thing bulldozed and never drive by there again and have it out of existence. I know there are others who are concerned about whether or not this is silenced and forgotten, as so often happens in the case of sexual abuse and violence. And I would say that for many of us, it's a very personal thing. For those of us in the Senate who may have been, maybe survivors of childhood abuse, for those of us, can be a very personal thing. But I think it's also a question of what the state itself, and also the Senate as an institution, that we can acknowledge what happened, either when we were in office or when previous people were in office. And it's complicated because, of course, there are issues of historical silencing, of denial, of erasure, and of forgetting. I would mention, just as an example of difficult times, we now, I traced in my research, and other people published as well, on the erasure of African American history. You can see it during the 19th century as it's slowly excluded from town histories, from town records, kind of peaking with Jim Crow in the early years of the 20th century. And then, starting 30, 40 years ago, the attempt to retrieve the Black history of New Hampshire through the Portsmouth Black Heritage Trail, and now the Black History Trail of New Hampshire. And markers are being placed around the state, often with, very, very difficult circumstances. Painful for the people who experienced it, and painful for memory, but the state has said, no, we are a healthier state, and we have a fuller history for all the people in the state if these receive some kind of notice. So, to the current example, I do want to stress that nothing about this marker would have any effect on current ongoing litigation. This is historical. It marks the presence of a building. And I think that, as we have seen so far in the settlements and in the cases that have been to court, that abuse happened there. How many, who, and under what circumstances, of course, that is going to be litigated in those kind of settlements. But I think this is, I think it would be very carefully, if there's an issue about that, that's why the Historical Resource Council makes sure the language there, if it ever could, I still can't see it, but if it could, make sure the language would not have any impact whatsoever on current litigation. So, and I will say too, I mentioned the very personal side of this for many people, but I will note also that as decades pass, at some point, no one who was there will still be living. But what remains is the state and the New Hampshire Senate. I think as a senator, speaking of myself and my term here, my very first term, I was on EDNA, and we had an issue come before us about the Youth Development Center. It was a staffing issue about the sufficiency of staff to provide the educational experiences that are supposed to be happening there. It was complicated, lots of people on both sides. And the chair decided to study. And, you know, the chair was and is extremely thorough. And during the summer went down there and so forth. And never once did anybody there tap on the shoulder and say, there's some bad things happening here. Nor, never once did any of us ask, are the kids okay? Now, you know, times have changed. You know, 13 years later, I think with all that's happened, there's a lot more awareness and a lot more willingness. But the fact of the matter is that as the Senate, as a Senate, for how many decades, we did the budgets, we did, you know, all kinds of children at risk legislation. We did a lot of investigation of the facilities and so on and forth. But as a Senate, we may not have actually done what needed to be done to protect children who were in the care of the state and of this institution. You know, and I'm sure, I mean, I hope all of you seen, because I did have a proposed concurrent resolution that was going to acknowledge what happened there and offer our, you know, recognition and acknowledgement of it. And both caucuses have to approve that a resolution get introduced as a bill, and that did not happen. But I've heard frequently around this that nobody in the state government has ever apologized for what happened. Now, personally, as me, I've just talked about sense of my, you know, my 14 years here. How can I not be responsible in some way? And I do want to apologize for it. But that's an individual decision, and I thought with the resolution it might be a decision of the body. But historical marker, I think, is a different thing. It says that here, as a state, we acknowledge our history. This happened. We should learn from it. I would say it would be, you know, we remember. We want to say never again. And I think legislative's character is, as I said, measured by what it remembers and by what it forgets. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah.
So as I walk in the front steps of this beautiful building, I come across, I believe, historical marker for Mr. Lafayette, who was here, addressed the legislature on 2 occasions. Short, brief. What would you envision would be encapsulated on this one?
Thank you.
I know you're-
Yeah, no, I you know, I
No,
yes,
because I can only see 3 or 4 sentences of that.
indeed. And I think that's the point of having the Historical Resources Committee work on it and to, you know, talk with survivors and see what would be appropriate there. 2 things. First, I think that it would simply say the Youth Development Center was at this location from such and such a date to such and such a date. And it, you know, and that it served the youth of this state who needed, you know, whatever, however you want to phrase that. That's why it was there. I think then maybe a sentence or 2 would say that there was historically that there were children in the state care at this center who suffered abuse at this site. And it could be as simple as that. But that's, they're short.
It could also become very complicated.
They're,
It's
Yeah.
certainly not-
yeah, well, I'll offer another answer to that is that, you know, again, having served on the committees, they're of a certain standard size, okay? And, you know, there's only a certain number of words that are going to fit on that thing. And that's not going to change. We have a standard format, a standard size, a standard font for them. There's a little state seal at the top and so on and so forth. And as you drive around your district, you'll see them all over. They have to be brief. I think of one that was put up for Wentworth Cheswell, first African-American elected to public office in the history of the state over in Newmarket. Complicated history, but there it is. There are burying grounds. There are other places. I think some of the Native American ones that, you know, we've had some controversy over Hannah Dustin and so-called massacres. And the language there is able to acknowledge the difficulty of how we think about that. There's one that going up at the site of in Dover, the so-called Cochico massacre, very complicated. But you know, there is a way to, within the limits of the language, to give the historical facts and some acknowledgement.
Very interested in seeing some of those.
Yeah, yeah. There is on a state website. You can
Okay.
you can look at them all.
The, so who pays, we don't have physical note, but those are ornate, and I remember having heard this in Public Works before. Who's paying for the marker?
There's an existing budget for the marker program.
From the historicals
It's
perspective?
through
or this is-
historical resources. Yeah,
Okay,
they do it. They get them made and they put them up.
okay. Thank you. Any further questions? Anyone else wishing to testify but has not had a chance? Thank you. We will close 668 FN. We have time to go into executive session. Move to go into executive session. Move has been made and seconded. We will, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. We will go into executive session. I'd like to go back to our first hearing and introduce the committee amendment. Fingers aren't working. Well, first, to get to the amendment, we'd have to pass ought to pass on the bill. Yes. Madam.
Motion not to pass on Senate Bill.
House bill.
House Bill 1190. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. We're now open, we're open for amendment, madam.
I make a motion to pass on amendment 20260723S.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Discussion on the amendment? Seeing none. If you're in favor of the amendment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. So we're at move to accept as amended House Bill 1190. Is that correct? All right. I will once we get there. All those in favor as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Motion for consent
So moved.
been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We're done with that one.
I'll take it out.
Who would like to take that?
I'll take it out.
All right.
Can we move consent with 3 people?
Yes, I checked with Sonia. She said as long as it's unanimous.
Okay. That was easy.
Keep that in mind as we go forward. All right, so we have that out of our way. Our next is, I'm scattered here, I apologize. Here we go. House Bill 1350, is there an appetite to take that up?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay,
I'm open for
discussion.
I'd move, well, if we have to move a motion
Yeah,
right
go
first
ahead.
before discussion.
Yeah.
I would move ITL. I'm not even sure what this bill is trying to accomplish. And the safety issues that were raised are terrifying and glaring. I just don't think it makes sense.
So, I mean, I'll second the ITL for the purposes of discussion. Do we have a second already, or did I miss that? No, okay, your motion, I'll second it. Oh, may I tag on?
Please.
So, and I had asked some of these questions. I mean, I would be interested to hear from the sponsor. I keep feeling like there's something that I'm missing, but putting antique vehicles on the road considered, even though it says that it's a, what's the language? It's not a regular vehicle. There's just no definition of,
use.
yeah, like primary use. Somebody could make it primary use. I mean, so it's working on an honor system, and in parts of government and in life we do that, but I'm just trying to figure out what this is all really about. And I wish that the sponsor had been here to make his case.
The, what is our, if I could, what is our time frame to pass this out?
So with House bills, we have more time. It's really Senate bills that we have really until the 3rd.
Do you want to give this another week, or are you ready to ITL now? Motion's been made, motion's been seconded.
I'd like to ITL it, but if you guys feel that you want to wait on it, I will withdraw my motion, but I'm still confused with the bills trying to accomplish. That's why I'm not sure what we're even doing here. As an antique motor vehicle owner as well.
Well, okay, so
What do you drive? Let's hear it.
Oh God, you name it. I got an '88 4Runner I bought when I was 16 years old that I still have. I got a '96 Land Cruiser I still drive. A '97 Defender that I bought to fix up. It's not running. And I could go down the list, but I won't.
do you use them as primary vehicles?
I don't.
Okay, and is there anything that would stop you from I mean, this is, but that becomes the
No, but
question.
like, take the summer. I drive it all summer long. That's my primary use vehicle in the summer, but then could I define it not as primary use because it's just the summer?
That's it. That's the, the opportunity was provided, and things come up, and it's unfortunate the sponsor wasn't here. I mean, he has an opportunity to try to overturn this on another, between now and the floor. But as it stands, we have a motion to ITL, and it's been seconded. I have concerns about just the primary nature of this. So yes.
Okay. Motion's been made second. If you're in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Move
ITL.
consent.
Yes. Motion been made for consent. Second. Second.
Yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. I'll take it out.
Be kind.
Oh, I will. No,
I turned it off.
so be kind.
All right, we,
Don't get it.
House Bill 485 FN, relative eligibility fees for late fund requests for road tolls. Please, make a motion for ought to pass.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion?
This feels like it's bringing, may I, yes, some, I don't know if the word is parity or equity, and, there may be at a time when this original statutory language was written, it was, it was targeted at a certain area and met that need, but since we're doing this kind of work all different ways now, it seems to me, the case that he made sense, and having an exception that applies for everybody that is doing, that is in this category, to me, it just seems like a no-brainer.
I totally agree. Small business.
Yeah, totally. Do
Okay,
it.
any further discussion?
I'm on board.
If you're in favor of the motion ought to pass, House Bill 1485, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None.
Move consent.
Motion's been made for consent and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of consent, say aye.
Aye.
Bill, you want to take it out because it's your district?
You bet.
Was there anyone left in Lebanon today after?
There's at least 13,000 other wonderful residents that are holding down the fort while Representative Corman, Bob Moses, and I are here. Yes.
We will go now
Sweet City
to
Council.
Senate Bill 668. I'm not so sure I want to bring this to a vote today. I would like to have some more time on this.
Okay.
And I know we're up against, is it we're gone next week, the following week?
Yeah, and I did talk to Sonia, and she said it absolutely needs to be exec on the 3rd. Or by the 3rd.
And where's the third fall, if you could help me with that?
Oh, it'll be the first week of March. So all Senate bills within FM need to be acted on by the 5th, but Tuesday.
Okay, we come back on what day?
I believe it's the second. So it'll be that Monday, the second. So
What else do we have for business?
nothing else.
From the Senate side, or is this it for
This is it.
everything?
This is it until we get more houses.
Okay.
I'm not prepared to, vote today on this. If you want to do that, I'm going to recess.
No,
No, we'll respectfully, we'll wait.
Yeah, move to the executive session.
Okay. Sounds good. So, and I would allow Senator to provide me with a little more information also. All right, so we don't have, is there anything else we need to exec?
Nope.
What an efficient group.
You know, it's the chair.
Put it in writing. All right, I want to thank you all.
you.
And we will call our business to a close. Thank you.
Okay.
You need to move and take a vote to close executive session.
Move
Oh,
to
thank you.
Close executive session.
Motion's been made, seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Executive session is now closed, and I'll move to adjourn. Thank you. Thank you, Grant, for showing up for that.
I didn't know if you